Oh, come on, it's just a dentist. Y'all are being big babies. I mean, just look at these two and how calm they are.
Row, fight the power, touch the untouchable, break the unbreakable.
This one opened with Momoko eating her precious sweets by the truckful. And while you can guess where the story of this one is going based on other toy animation properties, all I can think about is Wilford Brimley.
I'm Wilford Brimley, and I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about diabetes.
However, instead, we got some very realistic depictions of cavities with little devils poking at Momoko's teeth. This was likely a reference to the Mushi Baikimon, an antagonist from Sorikei Anpanman, one of the most classic of classic anime, about a superhero who fed kids chunks of his own head made of pastry.
Yikes. Well, good luck with all that.
It kind of makes more sense in context. Still, our own superheroine wasn't about to give up on her precious sweets, and wow, that's a face. I mean, it's certainly no Miyuki fish face, but still solid effort. Anyway, the professor scheduled an appointment at the dentist for her, and as it just so happened, Mojo also developed cavities and was going to the same office at the same time. Though more than questioning all of these improbable coincidences, I'm more curious of whether or not the evil monkey has health insurance. I mean, that's pretty much required these days. Anyway, Momoko explained the concept of the dentist to Mojo in the most accurate of terms.
何をしているんだ?
虫歯を掘ってるの。あとなんといってもドリルの回転音が。キンキキット。
But yeah, the two didn't recognize who the other was because nobody has long-term memories in the show apparently. Though they did recognize that they were in the same boat, being a couple of sugar addicts who had no intention of holding back on consuming stuff that was gonna cause a lot of non-tooth related problems later. And thus they decided to support one another through this quote-unquote ordeal. I mean, come on, just because the dude looks like a hunchback version of Black Jack doesn't mean he's a dangerous, unlicensed quack or anything. Granted, he might have been letting his patients run around a little too much, like Momoko get a freaking storybook so that Mojo could read to her as the dentist gave her anesthetics. And by the sounds of it, he was reading Momotaro to her, I'm guessing because Momoko wanted to hear the original tale before Dome Brothers messed it up. Okay, truth be told, I actually have seen the first few episodes, and think it's actually pretty good right now. Though, knowing that Choshiki Inoue is writing it, I have more the feeling it's going to become completely insane by the end. Also, stop abusing poor Haruka already, asshole. Anyway, I don't know if this is an actual practice in Japan or not, but the dentist seemed to switch between Momoko and Mojo, I'm guessing as a means of saving time. Personally, I think you should just concentrate on one patient at a time, but anyway, it was Mojo's turn for the anesthetic, so Momoko read him a tale to forget all about the pain.
あっちはおじいさんの顔に針をチクチク。
Yeah, I think you would have been better off with Stimpy's reading.
Once upon a time, the sky grew black as blood.
Nah, but seriously, this is absolutely hilarious and one of my favorite gags of this whole damn show. Next up came the actual drills, to which the two supported each other by providing cheer squads, which, yeah, okay, doc, just because we're laying up on pandemic restrictions, I'm pretty sure you shouldn't have this many people in your damn office. Also, what is Toy's obsession with samba dancers? I mean, you know, aside from the obvious. Anyway, either because the anesthetics didn't work well on a mutant monkey, or he just imagined the pain he was receiving, Mojo fidgeted to the point that the dentist messed up his teeth, and he went on a rampage. Taking out his frustrations on all of the sweets in town, Momoko was forced to dispose of her former cavity ally. This somehow led to Mojo ending up in the chair of a Martian dentist who just out of nowhere decided to fix his teeth for him. And again, I must ask, why do you all not ask for your patient's health insurance first? Anyway, this first half ended with Momoko resuming her sweets binge, saying that the dentist wasn't all that bad, even though y'all just showed a rather graphic scenario where it could go horribly wrong. But hey, at least they taught a much more important lesson by the end, that being to not consume too much sugar for other bodily reasons.
Yup. Diarrhea.
The second half of the episode seemed to be referencing an old John Travolta movie of all things. And I guess our resident Travolta was this wormy guy who, considering how much his boss was abusing him, seemed like he needed an obese dude in lipstick to help fill his poor heart. In this case, he wanted to fill his heart with dance. And as it just so happened, the mayor was holding a disco event of which the girls were scheduled to be guests of honor. Understandably, Kaoru and Ken were against going, but were eventually pressured into it. And to be fair, it's not as though the former had to do much other than reuse her transformation sequence when dancing. Still, Ken, wisely not wanting to be stuck around a bunch of out-of-touch boomers, decided to hide in the bathroom for much of the event. Speaking of which, the salaryman soon arrived with Travolta's boss ordering him to get him a drink. In the process though, he ended up on the dance floor, and having earlier been infected with the him particles, he transformed into, Ronald McDonald during the crack years. Just play the South Park clip. So, Travolta McDonald had probably the most fearsome power of any monster so far, which was to force everyone to dance disco until they literally dropped dead. Add on top of that the yellow clothes and the fro, and you have one of the most degrading deaths ever. The girls of course tried to stop him, but... Okay, in spite of the lame dancing, I do always have to give villains points when they subvert that tire trope. Thus it fell on Ken to save the day, though his dad would have to tell him first, with another really good gag, mostly thanks to some good sound mixing, that made it just as hard for us to hear the prof as him. On that note, Ken tried to turn down the music, and ended up speeding it up, and then switched it to some slow dancing. Not being a fan of romance, Travolta got Ken too, and to make matters worse... Fortunately, he ended up unplugging the music, which was all being powered by one cord wide out in the open. Seems like a pretty crappy sound system setup, but whatever. Thanks to him, the girls managed to stop the clown. And with that, the episode ended with him being turned back to normal, except for the fro for whatever reason. I don't know, maybe it's just a fan princess. I feel like I just woke up from my own fever dream. I mean, okay, in spite of this one being really random at times, I also do think this episode had some great setups, at least in regards to its gags. To me, good comedy comes from being more than a little ludicrous, but also never forgetting good character writing, because if your guys can't deliver the jokes right, then not too surprisingly, your random gags will just become pointless. This episode is a good example of this by giving us characters who are either well established like Momoko and Mojo, or in a very relatable situation like the office worker held down by an abusive boss. I wouldn't say it was comedy gold or anything, but it did get some genuine laughs out of me, as well as made me fear dentists and clowns a little more than usual. If I were to compare this dentist episode with something from the OG, I can't really think of many direct comparisons. I mean, at best, I think there was a Tooth Fairy episode where Buttercup was taking teeth from a bunch of villains for profit, and maybe something from the 2016 version, but the less said about that, the better. Besides, this was more of a Momoko and Mojo adventure. Seeing the two oblivious enemies supporting each other was actually kind of wholesome, which made their temporary alliance falling apart by the end both kind of sad and yet also hilarious for the lengths they went to support each other. Whoever thought to have Momoko read a story about a stinging bee as Mojo is being given an aesthetic is a sadistic genius. I also liked how this was basically a parody of all of those dentist PSAs between the intimidating doctor, and ending on a much more important lesson for the kids than just about their teeth. The second half with the Travolta monster wasn't bad either. The monster was at least relatable, and him getting revenge on his asshole boss was fun. Though again, the real highlight was the comedy with the interrupted roll call that I really want to see in more actual tokusatsu, and just about everything involving Ken saving the day. So, overall, while again nothing spectacular, this was still a fun affair thanks to some good character work. Momoko got to show off her kinder side, ignoring the hoarding of all of the town sweets, and Ken managed to be a fun sporting character by not wanting to put up with all of these damn boomers. How could you get more relatable? So yeah, looks like Delicious Party is going to be on hiatus for at least one more week, so probably no Sunday video this week. I mean, we could make a part 2 to that Tropical Rouge manga that we just started, but honestly, I want to go back to working on some longer projects that I've been dying to tackle. Don't worry, this next one will probably take like maybe 2 weeks, so you'll at least have something in case this party is delayed for another week. Man, until then though, for now my friends, and I should have skipped lunch, is that part of your head, you know what, I don't want to, no seriously, I don't want to, no thank you.